Rinse and repeat. Every year, it seems we face the same problem as thousands of NSFAS funded students await allowances. Funding investigations drag on. Appeals remain unresolved. Many have no idea they'll be able to register and continue their studies. Is it time to do away with the scheme? It's been plagued by scandals and failing students. Why not bypass it entirely and pay institutions and the students directly? Government, of course, has responded by placing the National Students Financial Aid Scheme under administration and appointing advisors to help fix the problems and restore some confidence in the system. We're joined now by the Deputy Higher Education Minister, Yusuf Cassim, in studio. Thank you for popping in.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to 7 to Breakfast.
And thank you to your listeners.
So I want to take you back to 2018. I interviewed Dr. Randall Carolison. Then, as now, there were severe and systematic delays in funding disbursements. We are now on the third successor since he was at the helm of NSFAS. Little has changed.
So, I think some of the underlying issues exist. We have an opportunity, Bongani, in the parliamentary legislative review process. The NSFAS Act is up for review, and Parliament and the country, because there will be a public participation process, has a role to play to examine what are the underlying issues. Is the model correct? Is the structure correct? What do we need to be doing differently in order to meet our mandate to fund students from underprivileged backgrounds in order to access the post-schooling education and training sector?
Because, of course, we can talk in big numbers and the broader picture, but for affected students, it can be quite a disaster because often it means they're evicted from accommodation, they face academic exclusions, there's no food. Many are often left with no choice but to drop out.
Well, that's exactly the point. And my experience in the system going back 18 years. Bongani, I was an SRC president once upon a time, and my biggest fight was that I believed that the system sets students up to fail. So you can try and fund as many students as you want to fund, but if the students that you are funding are not being empowered to succeed academically, and if they are not being given the information that they require upfront in order to make responsible choices for their own developmental needs, then the entire system is broken. And we spend a lot of money. It's over 50 billion rand that is allocated to the National Student Financial Aid Scheme.
And we still have shortfalls.
But we need to ask ourselves the question, are we using these funds effectively and efficiently? Are the students that we are admitting into the system being funded in a manner that actually empowers them to succeed? Or are we just trying to fund as many students as possible, which we should be brought in access, without really examining closer whether or not those that we are funding are being set up to succeed in the system?
If I'm reading between the lines then, it's been essentially a tick box exercise of funding as many as you can. And even there, as we've discussed, there have been problems. So it's up for review. Would you agree that NSFAS, as it currently exists, has been a disaster?
I believe the model needs to be reviewed. I've been very open about my own views in this respect. I've committed to the minister that I'm not going to misrepresent government policy, and I'm going to be very careful not to do that, Bongani, because I do represent the ministry here today.
But it's not working.
But it isn't working. I think we have to be honest about the fact that when you try to centralize in the manner in which funding has been centralized, and that's been the trend, centralize everything, and try and fix the problems that then flow from there, it hasn't produced the results that has been intended.
Sure, but if we need the public to participate in this review process, we've got to diagnose the problem as honestly as we can. And I understand your sensitivities around communicating things that may not be the official position of the government, but no less than Minister Kodongwana, for example, has been outspoken about this, that we need a complete overhaul of this thing.
I agree.
So what do we do?
Yeah. So my view is that let's go back to the principle. If the principle is that any South African, irrespective of the circumstances of your birth, should be empowered to access the system and to succeed, therefore the principle is, how do we best fund the individual student in order to succeed academically? And you don't have to have convoluted bureaucracies to be able to do that. You need to be able to start with the experience of the individual. And how do you best empower that individual in order to participate in the system? And you can decentralize your model in order to do that. Fund students directly and examine which institutions do have the capacity in order to ensure that the point of service is closer to the student. Students cannot access NSFAS in its current form. I visited the NSFAS offices at the waterfront in Cape Town. How many students can actually go there? Even the students that can go there, I'm in contact with many parents and students who have reached out to my office and the Deputy Minister's help desk. Even those that do go there do not receive resolution.
Would this direct funding then be approved via the institution?
There's a variety of models. You can ensure that those institutions that have capacity in order to examine the eligibility requirements, whether it's academic or the family income and means testing, can provide capacity to do that. It's been done in the past, and it was done very successfully in many instances. And in other cases, one can add capacity where that capacity doesn't exist. You don't have to have a one-size-fits-all. If you have the right governance in place and you have the right management systems in place, you can ensure that you can bring services closer to our people.
And I suppose you would take some of the money you would be saving in terms of getting rid of the entire behemoth and be able to set up institutions who don't have that capacity, should that be the case.
This is a problem across government, Bongani. We have these massive state entities, bureaucracies, boards, CEOs, and an entire layer of top management, senior managers that are on multi-million rand salaries. And your frontline services are not capacitated in order to provide services to our people.
And they get bonuses, and they get staff, and they get security, and all kinds.
It's the way that we view government services, and I think that's the point.
Is there will to remove the edifice?
Well, I think we're getting to a point now where I don't believe government has a choice. Either you're going to have to make very difficult and serious decisions, important decisions, policy decisions in this respect, or overall services are going to be compromised, I would say, existentially.
Would you, for example, because the other issue is if we know we know we have limited spaces at our public universities, if a student has applied and there is no space and they're able to go to a private university, NSFAS has traditionally not funded them, would we look at that as well?
I think it's budget dependent. Many of the private institutions are very costly. I think we need to also understand that the fiscus doesn't have an unlimited supply of resources in order to fund students. We have to look at this very differently.
Or at least an equivalent portion of what you would have funded them for at a public university.
Like I say again, Bongani, I'm not ruling out that as a policy matter. I'm saying it's budget dependent, but I believe we have to relook at where do we want students to access their developmental needs. In the European countries, I was in Germany recently, their emphasis is on skills and vocational training. It's not on academic university qualifications. Yes, they do have a burgeoning academic sector. But when I visited many of the industries, I visited, for example, the VW plant in Wolfsburg, and you look at what are the kind of opportunities that are available, it's mind-blowing. They are preparing their young people for the economy of the future, and that is an economy of skills. So we need to look at the entire system, and I think the minister has spoken about that in his annual performance plan. It has to be one system. The skills sector, the TVET sector, and the university sector, you need to ensure that overall you have an offering that is attractive to young people, that not everybody just wants to go to university because they believe that's the best shot at getting a job or building a future for themselves.
And we haven't even touched on the SETAs.
Exactly. But it's the same principle, right? We have all of these SETA boards. We have all of these convoluted management systems, people on very high salaries with these beautiful offices. How much of the money is actually going to skill South Africans? Remember, the skills levy comes from the private sector. It's a skills levy. It's a 1% levy on your revenue. Therefore, we need to be getting bang for our buck skills that are going to actually service industry and ensure that those that want to develop themselves have access to the skills that will not only make them employable in South Africa, but will ensure that they can be employable internationally.
I'm listening to everything you're saying, and I wonder if you and the minister read from the same hymn sheet.
Well, look, this is a competition of ideas. I've been appointed for 2.5 weeks now, and I've been very clear to the minister. I'm building a relationship with him. We must work as a team. I need to support the work that he wants to do in order to fix issues within the sector. But I've also been very clear about the fact that I cannot be expected to go and advance and defend, for want of a better way to describe it, ANC policies that I don't agree with, right? I come from a different political party in the Government of National Unity. I'm not going to go in.
You're all one government now.
No, we are. But it's a competition of ideas, Bongani. We have very different ideas about how we need to fix the very serious issues that are confronting our people. And I've said to the minister, I'm not going to go and misrepresent government policy, but I'm also going to advance the ideas that I believe are the solutions to the very serious problems that are confronting our young people. And we have a responsibility to do that. We're not going to just fall in line and perhaps try and continue with the status quo from a policy perspective that hasn't delivered the outcomes that we seek to deliver. Many of these intentions are very noble, but the outcomes have not matched.
Well, I suppose as that process unfolds, you and I will speak certainly once or twice more. Yusuf Cassim is the Deputy Higher Education Minister.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.